Hello, thanks for attending this training today on the Honeywell rotary meter. My name is Greg Schneider. I'm a regional manager for them, and I'll be showing you how easy it is to take this unit apart and disassemble it and put it back together and show you some of the nuances that go along with it. So of course, we always want to start with our personal protective equipment. I'll have my safety glasses on today, and just follow your company's manual, whatever you require when you do maintenance on equipment as well. A few of the tools that you'll be needing today are a 10 millimeter Allen wrench, a 5 millimeter Allen wrench, a 4 millimeter Allen wrench, a slotted screwdriver, and then a T20 torque. This is the RABO meter, the 3.5 M, and some of the things that you can see here has a 209 casing rating. One thing when you are looking at doing maintenance on it, first of all, you can check the back sight glass on it to see if the impellers are turning. If they're not, then that may be a sign that some maintenance needs to be done. So we're going to dive straight into taking this unit apart and putting it back together and show you some of the nuances. One of the first steps in disassembling the unit is to remove the housing cover. But prior to removing the housing cover, we must drain the oil out of the unit first. And we do that by removing the 5 millimeter Allen head drain plug screw at the bottom of the unit. This allows us to drain all the oil out of the unit. Once we do that, go ahead and reinstall it so we don't lose that plug. Now that the oil is drained, we can begin removing the housing. First, we must remove the 4 10 millimeter Allen head screws on the housing. I'm going to stand it up on the end here. Okay, with that being, those 4 bolts being removed now, in the housing you can see a little slot here on this side and on the opposite side as well. This is where we'll use our slotted screwdriver, and we actually can pry up the housing. And that allows us to remove the housing from the meter itself. So far, 4 bolts, and we have removed the housing. That gives us the exposure to the timing gears. The timing gears are all on one side and come out with the impeller. So when the unit is taken apart, they stay timed and you don't have to retime that when you reassemble it. That's one of the other advantages that makes it really easy. There's 6 Allen head screws that we have to remove, and that is using a 4 millimeter wrench. So we'll go ahead and start undoing those. And the 2 middle ones, what we actually do is we use the 2 middles to actually pull this housing off. And so we take the Allen head screw, and you'll see another slot right next to it, a bolt hole, and we stick that in there. Same thing on the opposite side as well. And now what happens, I'll set this down here, and you can see we again use our 4 millimeter Allen head wrench, and we start tightening it down. And what this does, this actually pulls the impellers up out. Tighten them down equally on each side, so that way it pulls it out evenly. Now we should be able to just pull the impellers and the timing gears all out as one unit. That's what gives us. So now we have totally disassembled this unit. Now at this time, this can be done while the unit is in line. Of course, it's not in service, no gas is flowing through it. But this allows you to get in and clean out the body cavity if any debris was caught inside it, as well as the impellers as well. If there was any nicks on the impellers, you could take some emery cloth, clean them right back up, and wipe them down and then reassemble the unit. So we can see very easy to disassemble. We'll take those Allen screws back out. So unit is totally disassembled, and we have taken apart 4 10mm Allen head screws and 6 4mm Allen head screws. Now we will reassemble it after we've cleaned it back up. So we just reassemble it in opposite process. So we'll stand the unit back up. The one key thing to notice is the top of the meter is where the pressure taps are. So that's very important. Now, I'm going to lay it back down so the pressure taps are pointing towards me. And when I go to reassemble the impellers back into it, the bottom impeller actually has a oil slinger on it. So that's why it is important to know the orientation. So the oil slinger goes to the bottom of the unit. So just to show you, right, it goes in like this, not opposite. Because if we did that, when we reassembled the unit and put the oil back in it, the oil would not be picked up if it was assembled incorrectly. So we need to make sure that the oil slingers are out on the bottom. Okay? So we drop the impellers back in. And now, reinstall our 6 Allen head screws. And when you reassemble the unit, make sure you torque the screws down evenly. Now that we have torqued it down evenly, we can go ahead and tighten it up. Please refer to the instruction manual per the unit size that you have to make sure you get the right torque on the Allen head screws. Now the impellers have been installed back into the body, and you can see how freely the unit turns again. Now, we want to now install the housing back on top. Inside the housing on the back side is a magnet, and it's a whole lot easier to install it if we remove the magnet first. Simply pull it out. Now that I have pulled the magnet out, I want to install it back onto the gear. And so you can see some dog ears on the back side, female dog ears, and you can see the male dog ears on the drive gear. By removing this magnet, and allows me to line up these dog ears a whole lot easier than trying to leave the magnet inside the housing and line them up separately while it's all as one unit. So this is a nuance in reinstalling the housing. Now the counter meter goes towards the bottom, and now we just simply drop the housing on top of the meter body and reinstall our 4 10mm Allen head screws. Again, we would like to torque down the housing evenly as we're reinstalling it. So make sure you alternate the Allen head screws. Now that we have cinched down the Allen head screws, now we want to go ahead and torque them down as well. Please refer to the instruction manual per the body size of the meter for the torque specs of these Allen head screws. So now we have totally reassembled the unit. And if I reach inside and turn the impellers, you'll be able to see the counter slowly move and begin counting again. Oil can be added back through either one of the 5mm Allen head screws on either side of the unit. There is one other thing I'd like to show you, and that is the index drive on the unit itself. Show you how easy that is to work. Here we will need our slotted screwdriver. And on each side is a screw that we're going to take out. So as you can see, 2 additional screws to take off, and that allows us to get to the counter itself. We can remove the Lexan cover, set that aside, and off comes our index meter cover, and now you actually have the index drive itself. If you needed to remove the index drive, this is where you will use your T20 torque. You can see the 3 torque screws that we must remove. And now we can remove the index drive itself. This index is the same index that is used on all of our meters, from the 3.5M meter to the 5.5 to the 9M and our 14M. So it is interchangeable. So if you had to replace the index drive, now you get a new one and simply drop it back on as well. There we go. And reinstall our T20 torque screws. Next, we reassemble the meter cover, and then we put the Lexan cover back on the unit itself. The Lexan cover forms a watertight seal, and so make sure you push down with some good force as you reinstall the slotted screws. And there you have it. You can see we totally disassembled this unit and put it back together, all the major parts. Again, we needed a total of 5 different tools, and now you're able to put this unit back in service and begin flowing gas again. Thank you for joining me, and if you have any other questions, please refer to our website and the instruction manual.